Hi, I'm Dave Worzel, and you're watching PHTV4. This is Fire Department Update for the fall and winter of 2024. Today we've got Palos Heights Fire Chief Mike Daly here with us. Chief Daly, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Dave.
You know, this is interesting in that we just had Fire Prevention Week, or Fire Protection Week, I think, in earlier October. And I know you and I have been talking about it, and really it's a great week to draw attention to fire protection, but it is a year-round thing.
It is. We like to think every day is Fire Prevention Day.
Yeah, and so with that in mind, even though we're kind of talking about that one event, really we're talking about what should people, especially now as we transition into like fall and winter, the furnaces are kicking on, people are decorated for holidays or will be decorated for holidays, houses are getting closed up, you know, types of safety tips for around the home.
Sure. Sure.
Before we do that, though, I did want to ask a little bit about this holiday because or not holiday, but Fire Protection Week. I mean, it's interesting. It has a history that I wasn't aware of. And so we're going to talk about that and some of the safety tips. Before we do any of that, how long have you been a fire chief with Palos Heights, and how long have you been a fireman?
So I've been involved in the fire service since 1987. And I worked in another town until 2021, and I came to Palos Heights in 2022. So I've been here about 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years, as the fire chief.
I'm doing the math. If you start in 87 plus the 20, you're 37 years or so. Is that where you're at?
Yes, I had maybe a 3 or 4 week gap in there where I was retired and got right back into it. And I've worked in emergency services prior to that, and that's what got me interested in the fire department.
Okay. So you have a pretty extensive background in a variety of places and types of jobs within fire protection.
Yeah, I started as a paid-on-call fireman in 1987 after working in the emergency management agency at my former employer. And I took the test to go full-time. I enjoyed the career. I worked full-time elsewhere. And when I was hired full-time, I became a firefighter, then a firefighter paramedic, then a lieutenant, shift commander, and I was finally the chief of the department in 2015 for about 6 years.
Okay. Well, again, congratulations. Maybe with that background, obviously, these questions are going to be like softballs, I guess, for you. But before we talk about some of the fire safety tips, things people can do about their home, Fire Protection Week, its origin is actually, and that's a national thing, right? But it's connected to the Chicago fire of 1871. Am I right there?
It is.
Okay, and I, you know, I knew some of these stats, but I'll throw them out there. So October 8th, 1871, right? Yep. We get the fire. 250 or more people were killed. 100,000 plus people became homeless. 17,400 structures destroyed in the fire. Over 2,000 acres burned. I mean, we've all heard of the Great Chicago Fire.
Yes.
What a disaster and tragedy. And so now we have a week that kind of builds on that memory and what we can do to avoid it going forward, right?
Yeah, so I think the idea behind the week, it really in the 20s, by presidential decree, it became Fire Prevention Week, and it started on the day of the Chicago fire, and it's the week following. And every year we have a theme, but going back to the Chicago fire, that allowed us to realize, you know, where we were going with fire protection. We have more stringent codes. For instance, in Chicago, they had the buildings too close together. They were all wood frame buildings. There was really no way to protect them. Now there's building codes that, you know, prevent fires and the large scale fire that happened. Although it happened more sometimes through history, the codes have helped prevent it. But we use it more now to educate and to raise awareness. And this year's theme was make smoke alarms work for you.
You know, and I'm going to be, this is one of those things I feel like I'm guilty of sometimes because it's like, is that battery still good in there? You know,
right.
And little things like that. So maybe let's start there. What are some safety tips around the homes? Probably the smoke alarm is a good one to start with.
We'll start with smoke alarms. So generally homes built now have hardwired smoke detectors that are interconnected. So when one goes off, they'll all go off. But the older homes still have battery operated smoke detectors, which rely strictly on a battery that needs to be replaced periodically. But as of 2023, the Illinois State Fire Marshal and state law, when you replace a smoke detector now, it has to come equipped with a 10-year battery. because we all know that the biggest problem with smoke detectors is that annoying chirp when it runs out of energy, and we have to change the 9-volt battery. Even though we have campaigns to say when you change your clocks, change your batteries, we know that throughout time that it's effective, but not as effective as we would like it to be. So now the state of Illinois has put into their laws that when you change a detector, battery operated detector, it must be the kind that has a 10-year battery, and that 10-year battery will time out. As soon as it's activated, it will start the countdown, and in 10 years it will sound an alert that the battery is low and the unit needs to be replaced. So far more reliable.
I was going to say, we did convert to the 10-year, I think, about 2 years ago, probably right after it went into effect. And I do like that idea of, all right, 10 years before I hear the chirp.
Sure, we all do.
Morning, right? And it sounds like a better system. So that's the big one, the obvious one. Everybody should have a working smoke detector.
Absolutely.
Or not one, but probably multiples in their home. And if you're on the old battery, that thing has to get checked. And
until they expire. They're 10 years for a smoke detector to the old ones to expire. They all have dates on them. 10 years from the time you install them, they're no longer effective according to the manufacturer and the industry. But what's equally important is where you place them. Mm-hmm. So there used to be one smoke detector in a home. Now the mandate or the instructions are one on each level, one outside of each sleeping area, so a hallway to the bedrooms, and one in each sleeping area. So you can have several detectors in one home. Mm-hmm. The reason is the earlier you can be notified, the faster you can make your escape. Mm-hmm. And the more time it gives you, because fire grows a lot quicker now. We used to use natural materials, wood, wool, that type of thing, things for your stuffing in your furniture. Now it's all plastics, and the plastics burn hotter and quicker, and the fire doubles a lot quicker.
And I'm going to guess there's maybe additional danger with like smoke inhalation or the type of fumes that are put out from plastic.
Yeah, there's certainly more chemicals in the smoke, and you certainly want to be able to take action immediately. As soon as you hear that smoke detector go off, you want to have an exit plan and a plan with your family of where to meet. All
right, thank you. That's a nice transition, because that was going to be my other question. So, smoke detectors, obviously. Other things that people should do, and one of them I was going to ask about is an escape plan of some type.
Yes.
I saw in the Fire Protection Week, they give you a grid where you can kind of map out your house and talk about that. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Well, the thing, if you have a fire, obviously it's going to be chaos. And if you leave, you have to have an exit, and if that exit's blocked, come up, if it's possible, with a second exit or some way to notify us or your family that you're still inside. And an important element of that escape or that the exit plan is that you have a place to meet. And it could be by the mailbox, could be by the tree, could be by the neighbors, because a lot of times, there's the confusion, is someone still in the home? And then we would know where to look for the person when the fire department arrived. So it is important to have that escape plan and to practice it and at least discuss it with your family.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, avoid the chaos of the moment. When you're in a crisis moment, you're not in a good mental state to calmly work this thing out. What about other equipment? Like, I don't know, the other one that comes to mind is like a fire extinguisher. Should we have one in the house? Is that?
Yeah, a fire extinguisher is a great idea. A fire extinguisher, well placed, somewhere where you can get to the extinguisher and that you're familiar with the controls of the extinguisher. Some of them are a little different. Generally, it's point, shoot, and sweep. Mm-hmm. But generally, they go over the instructions and to know where it is and remember during an emergency. But we also caution not to put yourself between the fire, put yourself between the exit and the fire, not vice versa, so you don't get trapped. And if you could safely use it to extinguish the fire, that's something you should do. Mm-hmm. Again, it takes practice and being prepared and following the replacement instructions on the extinguisher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, good advice there. I'm thinking about, if I have a fire extinguisher, I'll put it out. But not if it's going to be at the expense of me getting trapped in the house and not being able to extinguish the fire. Any other safety tips around the home you want to mention, or equipment we might consider?
Well, it's heating season. It's coming up. You should have your furnace serviced and cleaned at regular intervals. You should have a carbon monoxide detector, because carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless. Generally, you won't detect it, other than health-wise, it has a severe detriment to breathing, it makes you groggy. There's several symptoms. To have a working carbon monoxide detector installed as recommended by the manufacturer in every home. It's actually state law to have it in every multifamily and single family home. Even if you don't have gas powered appliances, you might put a car in the garage and forget to turn it off. This has happened from time to time, or there could be other elements, but to have a working carbon monoxide detector is a big plus. Having your furnace serviced, like I said, the use of extension cords eliminate that as much as possible and use good UL rated cords if you have to. And we're coming up to Christmas too.
Well, that was going to be my other question. As soon as you said extension cords, I got distracted. I started picturing those cords laying all over the yard or in the house, connecting decorations in the house, decorations, lights outside the house. Extension cord is an issue. Any other thing connected to the holidays or decorating?
Sure, live trees or even artificial trees, there's some flammability to them. The live trees, especially when they become dry, they become extremely volatile or extremely flammable, is keeping them watered and getting rid of them as soon as you're done with them. Making sure that your cords and your outlets are not overloaded. Use of candles during the holidays too. Never leave a candle unattended. They can do some things. They can flare up. There's several recalls every year at different candle manufacturers, so they say never leave a burning candle unattended. Even though they do, create a better atmosphere for the holidays, they are a safety hazard.
Right. I get that mental picture. We like the candle because it adds that, whether a holiday scent or cinnamon smell or whatever the thing is, and it's nice to have it, the pine smell. But again, unattended, absolutely not. Right. Any other safety? And that's a good list to work from there.
Sure.
Smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, fire extinguisher, when and when not to use an escape plan. I feel like we've covered a lot. Anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, I think basically, some appliances. They always say appliances need space. We always cook a big meal around Thanksgiving or Christmas, making sure the oven is clean. And sometimes you go to cook that big meal, and if it's not a clean oven, we have time to time have oven fires.
Oh yeah.
That type of thing. Maintenance is key. Keeping it orderly is key. Keeping room around your furnace, your water heater, anything that produces heat. They have clearances that they need. So generally, a utility closet shouldn't be a broom closet. Those appliances need space.
Okay, all right, another good tip. And again, you're talking about the holidays. I'm picturing the counter that's got multiple crock pots on it, and all the appliances going, and that outlet is being, hit pretty hard because, again, the big holiday meal going on. Be careful with all that.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you have in older homes, you only have a limited amount of outlets, so sometimes, the cord strips you buy from the hardware store, generally people sometimes will chain those together. Those are only for light duty. They're not meant to support space heaters. Space heaters is another thing. If you happen to use one, there's very specific guidelines on clearances, how to use them, where to use them. They have some danger to them if they're not used properly. They need to be respected. So.
All right. Chief Daly, thank you very much. A lot of really good information, really important safety tips that we hope people follow.
You're welcome,
Make
Dave.
it easier to enjoy the holidays and be safe at home with your family.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay.
You've been watching PHTV4, and this has been a fire department update for the fall and winter of 2024. Thank you for watching.